Imagine you're at a backyard barbecue on a sunny weekend. One guest is practically beaming. They've just made their last mortgage payment. Everyone raises their beers, patting them on the back, applauding how responsible they've been. Yet across the yard, the wealthiest couple stands quietly. They offer polite smiles, but they don't join the celebration. Not because they're envious, and not because they lack the funds to pay off their home. They understand something most Americans over 50 still haven't grasped, a truth that will completely overturn what you think you know about money. Here's the bombshell. Affluent people almost never pay off their mortgage early once they hit 50. And if you're racing to become mortgage-free, you could be stepping right into the biggest financial trap of your life. I'm about to explain exactly why the ultra-wealthy view debt through a different lens, why owning your home outright might actually be draining you of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and what you should be doing instead. This isn't some abstract theory. It's the real blueprint for building and preserving wealth beyond your 50th birthday. First, let's expose the myth your parents swore by. For decades, we were sold one simple narrative: knock out your mortgage, own your home free and clear, then sleep soundly. Maybe your folks threw a mortgage burning party back in 1985, and you've dreamed of that day when the monthly bill finally vanishes. But here's what nobody ever mentioned. That world is gone. Back in the 1970s and 1980s, mortgage rates soared to 12, 15, even 18%. Savings accounts paid 5 to 10% interest. Your house wasn't just where you lived, it was legitimately your biggest investment. Back then, paying off your mortgage was a no-brainer. Fast forward to today, you're still playing by your grandfather's rules in your grandson's economy. Mortgage rates are at historic lows. Investment options abound everywhere you look. The game has changed, but the advice hasn't caught up. I met a financial advisor in Denver last year who told me the biggest misstep he sees from clients over 50 isn't undersaving. It's making gut-driven decisions with their money instead of strategic ones. And the most emotionally charged move is sprinting to pay off a mortgage that's actually working in their favor. Now for wealth destroyer number 2, the silent thief lurking in your own home. When you burn down that mortgage, you're not eliminating an expense, you're creating an invisible one. Every dollar you plow into your property is a dollar doing nothing. No returns, no growth, no compounding. It just sits there like cash stuffed under a mattress. You wouldn't tolerate that from an employee, someone on the payroll who shows up every day and contributes zero. Yet that's exactly what home equity becomes: unemployed money. Consider this real-world example. You've built up $30,000 in equity inside your home. If those $30,000 were earning just 6% a year, you'd be missing out on $1,800 annually. That's $1,500 every month you're not pocketing, not this year, not ever. The wealthy recognized this decades ago. They don't view a paid-off house as ultimate security. They see it as lazy capital. Take Paul from Michigan. He rang into a radio program I was listening to last month. 62 years old, he just finished paying off his $400,000 home and felt on top of the world. But when the host ran the numbers, Paul discovered he was foregoing about $24,000 a year in potential investment returns. That's $2,000 every single month he could have been earning. Sound familiar? Have you ever sat down to calculate how much your home equity is really costing you in lost opportunities? Now you're starting to understand why the wealthy think so differently about home ownership and debt. Many homeowners don't view a mortgage-free property as true security. Instead, they see it as a chunk of idle capital, a pile of lazy dollars sitting still while inflation gradually eats away at its real value. Financial pitfall number 3, the liquidity squeeze no one warns you about. This danger intensifies after age 50. The real threat to your stability isn't carrying a mortgage. It's the false comfort of locking all of your net worth inside your walls. You can't auction off a bathroom tile to cover medical bills. You can't carve off a section of your roof to pay for long-term care. And you certainly can't write a check with your granite countertop when your children need financial help. You might be sitting on $500,000 in home equity and still find yourself completely cashless when an emergency strikes. I've seen this scenario unfold time and again. A couple retires at 62 with their mortgage fully paid. They breathe a sigh of relief, convinced they've done everything right. Then a health crisis hits. They need a new roof amid a housing downturn. A family member calls for money. In a blink, they're strapped for cash. Lenders won't touch them now that they lack steady income. They refuse to sell. Suddenly, they're trapped in the very home they thought would free them. Wealthy individuals understand a critical truth. Liquidity is the oxygen of your finances. After age 50, income often becomes less predictable and expenses more surprising. Access to ready cash isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. That's why they keep mortgages. Not because they can't pay them off, but because they grasp this fundamental fact about money. Control beats ownership every single time. Real security after 50 isn't about erasing debt. It's about maintaining maximum flexibility so you can handle whatever life throws at you. Secret strategy number 4, the tax benefit hiding in plain sight. Many everyday homeowners miss this powerful advantage that affluent people exploit. Your mortgage doubles as a subtle tax shelter. By clearing your mortgage early, you're giving up one of the few interest expenses that remain tax-deductible for most Americans. For those who still itemize deductions, especially in high-cost regions, that mortgage interest can shave a significant chunk off taxable income each year. Here's what most homeowners overlook. When the wealthy need funds, they don't rush to sell stocks or tap retirement accounts. That triggers immediate tax liabilities. Instead, they borrow against their property using a low-interest mortgage or a home equity line of credit. The best part? Loans aren't taxed. No capital gains tax. No early withdrawal penalties. No risk of getting bumped into a higher tax bracket. One Arizona advisor shared a case. His client needed $50,000 to cover wedding expenses. Rather than liquidating investments and handing over 20% to capital gains, he opened a home equity line at 3.2% interest and accessed the cash he needed, tax-free. He opted to pocket the entire $50,000 instead of letting $10,000 go to taxes, allowing his investments to grow uninterrupted. That's one reason affluent families often carry their mortgages indefinitely. It grants them tax-exempt liquidity whenever they need it without triggering any unwanted taxable events. They're not evading taxes illegally. They're simply shrewd enough to avoid creating extra taxable moments in the first place. It isn't about the debt itself. It's about tapping into your own capital without the government taking a cut each time you withdraw. Number 5, the invisible edge, the inflation gift most people refuse. Hardly anyone talks about this, but once it clicks, you'll never look at your mortgage the same way again. A fixed-rate mortgage is literally the only debt that gets cheaper in real terms every year you hold it. Picture this. You're paying $2,000 a month today. With inflation running at 3% annually, in 10 years, that same payment will feel like $1,500 in today's purchasing power. In 20 years, it will feel like you're only handing over $1,100 in today's money. You're effectively repaying the lender with steadily weaker dollars over time. It's like having a silent partner who gradually shoulders more of your payment with zero effort on your part. This isn't some high-level financial hack, it's basic economics that the wealthy embrace while everyone else fights against it. A Japanese entrepreneur explained it perfectly when we spoke last year. People here learn to fear debt and inflation, but smart capital knows that if you're locked into low-cost debt, inflation becomes your ally. Why use today's strong dollars to pay off a loan when you can let inflation do the heavy lifting? Think of it this way. If your mortgage rate is under 4% and inflation runs at 3% each year, your real interest rate is barely 1%. You're essentially borrowing for almost nothing once you factor in the eroding value of each payment. Instead of a burden, it becomes a gift that keeps on giving. And the wealthy accept that gift with open arms, while most folks throw it away by rushing to clear low-cost debt with premium dollars. Case study number 6, the $200,000 mistake. Let's run the numbers to see this in action. Meet Sarah, a 52-year-old teacher in Ohio. She has $200,000 left on her mortgage at a fixed rate of 3.12%, and she also has $200,000 sitting in savings. She's tempted to wipe out the mortgage entirely, debt-free at 52, no monthly payments, a fresh start for retirement. But let's do the math. Option 1. Sarah pays off her mortgage. Over the next 15 years, she saves roughly $130,000 in interest. She owns her home outright and enjoys that debt-free relief. Option 2. She keeps the mortgage and invests those $200,000 in a diversified portfolio, earning 7% annually, a conservative assumption for a 15-year span. In 15 years, her investment grows to $550,000. Yes, she still pays the $130,000 in mortgage interest, but she ends up with a net gain of $220,000 more than if she'd paid off the home. Consider this. In trying to save $130,000 on interest, she sacrificed $350,000 in potential investment growth. She believed she was making the responsible choice, but in reality, she lost more cash than she preserved. That's not savvy financial planning. It's sabotage disguised as prudence. Now let's dive into the 7th strategy, the strategic mortgage method. What do affluent individuals actually do? They follow a precise 4-step routine, especially if they're over 50 and rethinking their mortgage approach. Step 1. Lock in and keep mortgage rates below 4% forever. If your rate is under 4% and fixed, you're sitting on potentially the best borrowing terms of your life. Guard that advantage and deploy it wisely. Step 2. Put every dollar you save to work immediately. Instead of rushing to pay down your loan, channel that money into a diversified portfolio, dividend-paying stocks, real estate investment trusts, or other income-generating assets. Even a conservative 6 to 7% annual return will outpace your mortgage interest over time. Step 3. Maintain the equivalent of 12 months of mortgage payments in liquid savings. This is your Sleep Easy Fund. It erases worry and ensures that unexpected expenses won't jeopardize your home or your peace of mind. Step 4. Review and adjust your plan once a year. Markets shift, rates fluctuate, and your personal situation evolves. Every year, ask yourself, is my investment return still exceeding my mortgage rate? If not, make data-driven tweaks rather than decisions based on fear or outdated advice. This isn't theory, it's exactly how financially free people over 50 operate. Many of them still carry mortgages, yet live with zero financial stress because they understand the difference between being debt-free and being truly free. You might argue, I'd sleep better knowing my house is completely paid off. I get it. The idea of outright homeownership feels safe and triumphant. But here's what most never consider. I've met many individuals in their 60s with mortgage-free homes who are constantly anxious. They're house-rich but cash-poor, with no flexibility when life throws them a curveball. One crisis, and they're scrambling because they locked their wealth into 4 walls. Consider Mike from Chicago, a 64-year-old whose home has been paid off for 3 years. He felt proud until his furnace died in the dead of winter, his roof began leaking, and his son lost his job. Despite having $400,000 in home equity, he couldn't access it quickly without costly emergency loans or a complicated refinance. True financial security doesn't come from wiping out every debt. It comes from having liquid cash on hand, passive income flowing in, strategic investments growing, and immediate access to funds when life gets unpredictable. That's real safety. That's genuine freedom. And that's why the wealthy don't rush to kill their mortgages. They use them intentionally as powerful tools to build and protect lasting wealth. Rethinking your finances after turning 50 means moving beyond the old playbook that worked for your parents. It starts with smarter questions. Not, can I pay off my mortgage, but should I pay off my mortgage? Not, what will I save in interest, but what opportunities am I giving up by tying up this money? That shift in perspective is what separates those who merely get by from those who build lasting wealth. Once you adopt this mindset, you'll never view your mortgage the same way again. Your mortgage isn't a burden. It could be your most powerful financial tool after 50 if you know how to leverage it. So, what's your game plan from here? Will you eliminate the debt, or will you invest the extra cash and let your mortgage work in your favor? On a scale of 1 to 10, how valuable was this insight for you? Share your rating in the comments below, and let me know what you see for the next 20 years. I read every comment, and your questions often spark ideas for future content that helps more people achieve real wealth and financial freedom.